in business and like these things that you're trying to accomplish, like, don't be afraid to fail. Like, it's going to happen. Failure is coming your way. Learn how to better prevent it in the past and how to get back up quicker. Like, get back up on your feet, man. You get knocked down, get back up. Don't, just don't be afraid of that. Like, I love it.
You know where life's going to take you, but you'll meet some cool people along the way. Each person has their own story, and each moment is precious. So enjoy the moments and enjoy the journey. Man, welcome back on the show.
Thanks, man. Always a pleasure.
It's been a serious journey from our last adventures in 2020 into us being into 2021 with some new perspective on life.
Big time. So many things have changed since then. So many opportunities have come up. I think the best one is you on my show at the beginning of January, first show of 2021. And someone brought up Clubhouse, and it was like, there's no way we can fold another thing in. We're so busy, you're back to teaching, and I am too, in addition to all the other stuff we've got going on. And away we go. And we're in there like hosting rooms every Monday and joining in other rooms. And it's just been such a wild ride.
It has. We were like, oh man, not another app. And, we pulled the trigger. We were in Clubhouse every Monday.
Yep. I mean, I've been doing 3 a week pretty consistently. Monday nights, my buddy runs one on Tuesday nights, and I'm a moderator in that. And then Lance does one every Thursday afternoon. So I've tried to really stick to those 3 and stay consistent with that. It's not been easy because often, like, we start at 9:30 at night. Tony starts at 9, and it's usually coming off a very busy, dinner service. And I'm trying to get in there, and at the end, I'm fading, man. I'm like, thank God it's not video, because you all see me laying in bed, like starting to fall out. It's great. But sometimes the funny part is I'm running around from business to business because they're all right next to each other. I'm like literally closing them down. So I'm like at the computer, lights are off. I'm like doing numbers and counting cash. And like Tony will ask me like some serious question, and I'll be like, wait, what? I was counting money. Sorry, I don't know what you just said. I don't know what you just asked me. Again, the beauty of Clubhouse. That's why it works for me. It's something. And then like Lance's afternoon joint. Sometimes I'm like whipping around Brooklyn in traffic, making like crazy, like high-end deliveries for the wine store. Like people are dropping like crazy expensive deliveries during the day, fancy champagnes and stuff, sending it to gifts for people because, people don't see each other anymore. Mm-hmm. So that's been one way, talk about how like the pandemic increased business. People stopped traveling, people stopped going to visit people. And so they're dropping like these really expensive champagne orders and like $200 bourbon orders, for a guy that lives in like downtown Brooklyn, like not that close to us. And so I just got to hop in the car and like go through the traffic, and I'm in our Clubhouse room on my way, and they'll ask me a question, and it's like, like sirens and stuff. And I'm trying to talk. But it's been fun. It worked out really well.
Yeah, that Clubhouse is definitely one of the best innovations to come out of the whole pandemic. The audio base and being able to talk with people that you kind of know through social, but maybe not enough to give your number, but that middle ground to meet and interact with people is absolutely amazing. Just like connect without having like you can basically go up to the same conference in a sense without having to actually leave your house, which I think is fantastic.
But we don't have to pass out numbers. We're not that close. I love that.
Even though with some of your DM history with people asking for, foot pics and whatever the crazy things they hit you with.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
Exactly. Can't deal.
Oh man. But how are restaurants now? Are you guys full capacity, or what's happening?
Not full capacity. It's kind of a mess. But in New York City right now, we are at 50% capacity. If you can create 6 feet distance, people can sit at the bar now. That's like brand new. We can stay open until midnight now. But just with the change of weather, it's really nice now in New York. And people have gotten vaccinated, in New York City more so than a lot of other places. That's changed confidence a lot. So people are coming out big time, mask off. They're like ready to party. So it's really busy. Anybody that opened back up or anybody that stayed open is definitely reaping the benefits right now. Staffing is actually the hardest part because a lot of staff is reluctant to come back still, either out of fear or they're still getting some kind of stimulus check and they don't have to work for their money right now. So they're kind of like taking it easy. And in the restaurant industry, you're face to face with people. It's crazy because like if you have concerns, none of them have to wear masks, and you have to wear masks, and you're like in close, proximity to them. It doesn't bother me, we've been through it all, we all had COVID and everything, and just have like tons of antibodies, and there's been no situation since last year, since like March of last year, so it was like early on. So a lot of people are reluctant to come back. So it just means like you're grinding, you're grinding, but you're making money. You're definitely, it's like the payoff has come. And for us in particular, we have a very exclusive outdoor setting, and that's become very sought after. So people are renting the whole thing. It seats 20 comfortably. You could pack a couple more in there, and it's way off the beaten path. Nobody sees it. It's covered. It's hidden. There's heaters if it's cold. There's fans if it's warm. So that's become kind of like the thing, and so we're just getting a lot of traction and just beating the drum on social. I kind of pulled back on all of my other paid advertising that I was doing before, any of that, the digital outreach that I was dealing with. Scale back the website. We're starting to talk. I'm talking with my web developers and my digital marketers about redoing the whole website, really focusing on SEO, using Google My Business. That's been a big thing. Like our Google searches went way up, and you can kind of treat that like a social profile, which is cool because you could just repurpose all the stuff that you're doing on your social. You don't even have to do that much either. It can almost kind of be like Twitter for your business.
Nice.
And that coupled with your SEO, because people are searching restaurants big time through Google because they don't know what's going on anymore. They're like, Google will kind of say like permanently closed, temporarily closed, open for business. They do pretty well with getting those stats out to people. So that's been utilized a lot more. So that's a point of focus for us as we go forward. But otherwise it's just been hardcore, like Instagram and Facebook, and a lot of video stuff, I don't know if you've seen some of the more creative TikToks that like my kids and I have done with the restaurant. There's like this one account on TikTok, I forget her name, but she's a professional filmmaker in Los Angeles, and she does all this crazy stuff with the phone where she's like running in and then dropping off and then coming back over the other side, and it's all this like crazy stuff. It works really well with food. Like I saw her do it a few times with food. So we do stuff in the kitchen, we do stuff at the bar, and it's like quick 15 seconds in and out. But like even D-Rock is like jumping in and being like, man, those are good. That's pretty good. And I'm like, it's the kids, the kids are happy with this. So there's just been a lot of like exciting stuff happening. Right now it's hard because we're so busy. We barely have time. Like some days, man, like last night I didn't get to post anything. It was like 11 o'clock. And I was like fading, and I'm laying in bed, and I'm just like tweet, Insta, Facebook, LinkedIn, quick. I got to do a Jiu Jitsu thing for TikTok, and then post it to stories. Go. And like 25 minutes. It's amazing what I can kick out in a short period of time. Like when my back's against the wall, and I'm like, I know I got to get this done, but literally the whole day was just boom all the way through until the end of the night. And I'm like, man, I need like a social media intern or something like that.
I feel you on that, man. Do you find, because I feel like when I put out content, I used to do it I have like my little 20-minute, 30-minute, sometimes an hour, depending on the day, is bursts of like, all right, exactly, tweet, LinkedIn, Facebook, Insta, TikTok, whatever it is. Do you find that, do you feel like you get, when you're making something new, do you feel like you kind of, like with me personally, when I put something out, let's say I have a video out, and the video is going to be on each thing. It's like the Instagram video, I have this copy, but then like, for the LinkedIn one, I'm like, I could have did this. And then like, so like by the end of the whole cycle, I have a whole, like whatever app gets me last, it's either getting like the best me, cause I'm like, I figured out how to do it all this way, or the worst because I'm just like, fuck it. Like, I'm just gonna be like,
Exactly.
Do you feel like the growth comes with it each time you do it each day?
Yeah. And so like when I promote, I always do a post promotion of the talkradio.nyc show. So I'll pre-promote whoever the guest is that week. So the show's on Friday. On Thursday, I start kicking out everything for that guest. Do stories, and I get some pictures, a little background on them, and often it's somebody that I don't know yet. I'm just learning about them, so it'll just be a little blurb kind of about them. And then on Monday, this week I'm really behind, but usually I try to have the whole episode up on YouTube for Monday morning, and then I blast it on all channels. Sometimes I link it, sometimes I don't. but I start going through that copy, and that really is when I start to find like it gets better and better and better. So I'll start with Twitter, because you're bound by, you know, the characters, the amount of characters. So you have to be short, sweet, and concise. And I'm like, okay, let's just do this one first. And then I'll copy that to Instagram, but I'm like, I want it to be a little different. So I'll start to elaborate. And it's either Facebook or LinkedIn that gets me last. And like you said, it's either like the best one, and I'm like, man, that's good, or I'm just toast. It's like 11:30 at night. I've worked all day, and I'm like literally LinkedIn. I feel so bad because I'll be in bed, like literally laying in bed, trying to give, like, you know, with LinkedIn, I like to give a nice caption. It should be well thought out. You know, I feel like most of the people that are reading there are looking for something a little bit more insightful. So not just like the short. It's the opposite of the short Twitter blurb. You know, like, calm it down. Let's talk. I can use a couple big words. I'll open up dictionary and like. And I'm like laying in bed. I can't tell you how many times I woke up at like 1 o'clock in the morning and my phone's on my chest, and that LinkedIn post is still, it's like, sometimes it saves to drafts and sometimes it just closes, and I'm like, it's gone. And so I don't even post it that night. And I'm like, whatever, we'll get them tomorrow. So that happens.
Man, get them tomorrow. That's definitely it. Getting the reps in how you can and just figuring it out. Now, how's coaching been again, teaching the whole jiu-jitsu process?
Oh, it's great. So I'm now, since our last conversation, I've now joined Renzo Gracie's flagship academy in Manhattan, 30th Street, between 7th and 8th, right next to Madison Square Garden. Super, super famous place. It's been there for 25 years. One of the toughest rooms, but best places to train in the world. The guy that I trained with for the first 5 years, that's where he came up. And his school closed, unfortunately, and he left the city. And not many schools have opened back up, but interestingly, what happened in New York State, so the rest of the state opened gyms in September, statewide, but New York City was more limited than the rest of the state, even though the rest of the state had higher case counts, like not case counts, but a higher percentage of rolling positive cases. They still kept the thumb on New York City. Doesn't make a lot of sense. And particularly like any kind of contact schools. So like, striking arts could operate, like Muay Thai gyms could open back up, some karate schools, you know, because you could do a lot of pad work. You know, you could work on bags and stuff like that. You didn't have to work with a partner. You could be 6 feet apart. Jiu-jitsu, it's the opposite, you know, of social distancing. We want to get as close to you as possible, like ear to ear is the preference, you know. So that wasn't flying so much. But what de Blasio did was he created a pro fighters license. So if you had pro MMA, so if your guys were fighting in UFC or Bellator or Cage Fury or some of those circuits, you could open. If you were a pro boxing gym, so like Gleason's was able to open back up. If you were Muay Thai, like Mendez boxing, you know, institutions like that had pro fighters. Basically, it came down to money, and whatever promotions were able to go, you know, like rent out Madison Square Garden. They were like, okay, we're going to give you a pro fighters license. You're going to have limited operations, but you're going to be able to operate. You guys are going to be able to make contact. The restrictions are going to be looser on you as far as that goes, so that your guys, because you could go to Texas and you could fight still. You know, Texas has been open for a long time. Florida, you know, a lot of places. And some of these guys were going to fight either. They were going to, you know, like Abu Dhabi, where you could, you know, they were allowing fights to happen around the world. And just, you know, some of these fighters, they've got a lot of pull. You know, Renzo was an early investor in Abu Dhabi, you know, in the city, you know, like he's not just like a fighter. He's like the ultra entrepreneur, which is also, awesome. It's so great to be around him. And like, you know, he knows us now. He knows my daughters. He's like picking up my 3-year-old and like walking around the school with her while he's teaching. To be in that company and like get that instruction, but also just to feel that sense of just ultra entrepreneurship is super fascinating. So, you know, we've been there since January. It's definitely been tough, but I earned a little cauliflower ear.
Oh, there we go.
That was cool. My elbows hurt, you know, but it's a great place to be, and everybody's really, really, everybody, you know, a room like that, and this is like why I love jiu-jitsu, is that everybody is trying to improve. It's not about being stagnant. It's not about, I'm just like working out, trying to maintain my physique for the beach. Everybody's trying to get better and better and better every day. And it's just so motivating, you know, for business and entrepreneurship, because same thing, you know, if you get complacent, that's it. you're done. That's when the downhill spiral starts to go. So just being in, starting the day, like I went this morning at 7:30, came home, showered, right in the seat right now, and working with high level guys, and they're just pushing me and they're pushing me. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to take that momentum for the rest of the day. And I'm just going to push, like, no matter what's happening with the businesses, you push through it. And I'm like, oh, okay, we made enough money. We're going to be okay now. Like, just always looking to get better. And I love that aspect of it. And that it's just so motivating.
It's so motivating, man. The physical growth really does help with the growth everywhere else. Well, I feel like growth anywhere helps with growth anywhere, but something about that physical getting down and dirty and just sweating and getting your cauliflower, you're getting your leg messed up. The little injuries you get in the physical world from you doing things definitely help with your mental world so much. And then you apply that to, your business, to content, to relationship. It's like, all right, if I grew this much in this much time, I can grow this much in this much time somewhere else. Because you really forget how much better you can grow until you find something that you really sucked at before, and you're like way better at it now. That's the best feeling. That's like the whole game of life right there. So I definitely feel you on that. I still haven't joined the gym yet. I had a lot of other things that I was doing. Like I'm a notary now. Like there's a bunch of stuff that I just adapted and grew into within 2021. But I said June's where it is. So it's on wax now, guys. So you're gonna see me in June. Next time we talk, I already have some moves in me,
See some TikTok. Gotta see some TikToks.
I know. I gotta get back on it, man. Like some of the stuff you showed me, like the shrimp thing you had me doing before. Like even now, I'm still kind of like trying to figure out how to even do that one. But
shrimping and bridging. That's it. Those are the two big ones.
Oh, there we go. Now, how do you, mentally, with all the things you have to do, all the hats you put on, what do you usually do to keep yourself sane with all the changes happening and life, being a dad? You got a lot of things.
So the other thing I was going to say about jiu-jitsu, and Roman talks about this a lot, is like you hit this like mental state when you're in there training. You're literally fighting for survival, and it just brings something out in you as a human to just readjust your mindset, so that when you walk out, like whatever was an issue before you went in is no longer an issue. You just have to put all that stuff aside. It's akin to like having like a deadly disease, like that's when you really prioritize things, is when you're like, oh man, my life is on the line now. Like what really matters, you start to focus on your health. You stop talking to people that don't matter anymore. You really focus on your family and the people that you care about. You reach out to them, you make those calls, and you like focus on those relationships. And jiu-jitsu like daily gives you that kind of reset where you're like, okay, I'm realigned now, and I'm gonna go forward and just like really focus on what matters. So that helps, and part of it is just natural, I think. I mean, I've always kind of been complimented for my ability to focus under stressful situations. That's why I've been in the restaurant industry and not completely failed at that yet. I've suffered some losses, but like I'm still in the game, and it's been a long time. It's a very easy place to lose yourself, man. You could just easily get overwhelmed by all the things that are going on. So it's funny because I was talking to one of my training partners this morning about it, where, you do the jiu-jitsu in the morning and you're working with these guys that are just so good, and they're just attacking and attacking and attacking. And like, you make it, maybe you tap a couple times, you're like, good, oh, that was good, nice, your dad would be proud, and you reset and you go again. And then at night I come to the restaurant and it's like the same thing, man. It's like overwhelming. It's like a bear coming at you. And the goal is not to completely dominate all the time. You just don't want anything catastrophic to happen. Nothing where you're like, you lose a limb, you lose a finger, you lose like, a whole dining room. Like you don't want to like just completely like screw a bunch of customers. Sure, there are going to be some battles you don't win. Some people are going to leave unhappy, but the goal is like you walk out on 2 feet and you get to do it again the next day. So that's, I get to do it twice now every day, where I'm training in the morning and doing the restaurant in the evening, and one just offers the other solutions. And that's really what helps. And it's just dynamic problem solving. Both of them are high pressure, high stakes situations, pressure cookers, constantly changing. Like every time you feel like you got a hold on one thing, something else shifts. And you're like, oh, I got to do that too. And when you train that, it's like a muscle mentally, you're pumping that muscle constantly, and it's going to get stronger. If you're doing it with some kind of technique, having a strategy is really important, but obviously you can't see everything that's coming. So, you just like have some sort of strategy and stay relaxed, and just get used to getting knocked around, but know like chances are you're going to wake up tomorrow and be able to do it all over again.
That's the best feeling, knowing you can kind of mess up and come back and bounce back just the way you need to.
And that's life, man. I mean, people should approach that. I'm not saying like, walk out into traffic and go that way, but like there are a lot of opportunities, and just really like not get so upset over these little things that that just may seem, really important. You just have to know when to say like, man, that's out of my control. Like it's done. It's out of my control. Things happen, interpersonal communication sometimes, and you're like, man, I really wish that went better. And I'm sure maybe there'll be like a small, repercussion to it, but it's probably not as bad as you think. And the mentality is just to like realign back to like what's really important and go towards that.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Now, have you looked into NFTs at all?
Yeah, so I kind of was like waiting on it. I understood like the real broader picture, essentially, especially as it pertained to like art and baseball cards. Like that made sense to me. But some of the rooms that I've been in on Clubhouse, especially, mind blowing, man. Just the way that tokens are issued and the codes protecting them, and how like if a code gets exposed, it completely devalues the token.
Wow.
Then also like take for like baseball cards, for instance, people have issued multiple tokens for the same card because it's just like the Wild West. So who really has the token? And it really comes down to like, there's a lot of things that are affecting it. But basically, if you can protect your code to your wallet and never let that get exposed, chances are you can redeem the value of that token. So that's like kind of crazy. Like lawyers are still not privy to all the nuances. How do I protect my client that's saying like they have the original? It's really wild. And I'm speaking with a guy. He's coming on the show next month. He's got this big thing he's going to release that's based off of collectible cards. And he's kind of been dealing with it a lot. He's got a company that kind of answers questions, provides services, can connect you to the right people to help, especially with situations like that. But he went further. Well, no, then it was a conversation with another guy like I had on the street. He was talking to me and a real estate guy about how now houses and businesses can offer up tokens as like investments. So they can solicit investors in a more, in a very contemporary way. Like, I heard Gary say a number of times, like NFTs are going to change the way the internet works and social media, but it's changing the way investment works. So look at it like this. You could take like the block that I'm on right now, where like the restaurant is, but there's also houses on it. Some of these houses are 12 feet wide. They're like 12 foot wide, single family homes, and they go for over $1 million. They're just like, it's just super expensive real estate. So you could offer up tokens on your house. Now, me as an investor, I could take 200 grand and put it as a down payment towards one, if I'm going to do it the more traditional route. Or if every house it's almost like real monopoly, like digital monopoly. Really if every house on the block is offering tokens, I can spread that 200 grand amongst all those houses and redeem from each of them. So it's really like a paradigm shift in investment. And you can do the same in business. Like you heard me mention, I answered a couple of your posts recently, like what's the best advice you've been given? And one of the big ones for me was, it's better to own 20% of 5 things than 100% of one. NFTs are offering that opportunity at scale. So you can really dole out, and it just means the hits the hits don't hurt as bad. So say you got, if you got $100,000 and you've got 20 grand tied up in 5 different places and 3 of them fail, like you just lost like, 60 grand. It's like, wow, that hurts. But you can spread it out kind of exponentially once the NFT thing gets set up right. Like it's brand new. People aren't doing it much with houses, but it's going to happen, and they're going to do it with businesses too. So, you wait till somebody puts up their, part of their business is NFTs. If it's something like, maybe it's one of Gary's adventures, maybe it's like David Chang, one of his restaurants, man. I'd love to like own a piece of that. These guys that are like super successful. I mean, guys like that probably don't need investment, but you can find like a tier down, like guys that are up. Or maybe just somebody you like really believe in and are connected to. Or if you are starting a business, you could offer out NFTs for your business. to get solicitations for capital. And then what Lance and Chef were talking about the other day in the room we were in were using NFTs as lead generators, where you're not selling the token for money. The token for you is like an admittance pass to something like very exclusive with your business. So it's just a very low cost way of marketing, and you can promote it on social, so it becomes content for you as well, and a lead generator. For me, like that's the thing that I'm really honing in on, like how to utilize the show, how to utilize all these things to get multiple streams of engagement, and not just like, okay, I'm doing my show and that's just to like connect to people and to have content. It's like now I'm using the show to connect to people, to create content, but also to create leads around whatever thing I'm working on. So for me, it's like consultation in terms of small business, consultation in terms of podcasting itself, consultation in terms of social media. So really gearing the show that way. And then, you can use NFTs the same way, where you're using it as a lead generator to bring people into your business, where you're just offering them something. Like she's got these chocolate chip cookies she was talking about. They're like the best in the world. And then like, she doesn't give them to just anybody. So she was talking about using NFTs as a way to get people into this club, where she's not even asking them for money for the NFT. It's actually like the guest pass that's like roping people in. And then maybe down the line, they say if you market to somebody, you remarket to that same person, by your third engagement, if it's successful, you probably have like a lifelong fan. You probably have a lifelong customer, or a very, very committed customer. So it's just a really simple way to get that engagement, where, say even a year ago or 2 years ago, you would be doling out like paid social ads to connect to those people. It's just yet another way you can do it. I don't know what the cost is associated with like issuing tokens, but I assume it's probably pretty cheap. Do you know anything about that yet?
No, because even when I like for to get Gary's, the fees for like the gas fees for the conversion of the crypto into for the money into crypto was high. So I don't know what the fees. I don't know what you have to pay to get the actual NFT minted, or what you have to pay with the fees on the fees to get the thing. Because I know you have to get it minted by the actual like thing that mints it. Then you got to pay to convert the money. So like it's definitely a lot of Wild West stuff.
Right.
I think I like a lot of things you said were fantastic. Chef's cookie idea is brilliant. So Chef is like
mine, bro. We were like, Lance and I were just like that emoji. We just sat there, bro. It was like silent, but like comfortable silence. But we were all like, okay, let us just take that in for a minute. Because Lance is really big on that. Lance is hot on lead generation and efficiency. Like when you're pulling that lever, like make sure you're pulling at the end of the lever to get all the juice out. And that's jiu-jitsu, man, right there. That's what jiu-jitsu is all about, like exposing the levers on the body and like placing these wedges in the right places, so that you're not working too hard and the person is working really hard to try to like escape or whatever. And so to like get that experience in like business talk and entrepreneur talk, and like I get the hair on my neck stands up and I'm like, oh man, this is like jiu-jitsu. So it's just another way it shows up in life. It's really amazing.
It is. I think pulling on levers is a great metaphor too. Like the NFT thing is definitely such a big thing, and it's such in its infancy. There's definitely so many people that are going to make so many big things. There's going to be some shitty things. It's going to be just a crazy mix of stuff, just like all over the place. But I do like that idea for being investment, like especially with the podcast thing. With us being in the media thing, is it more? Can we use it as investing? Is definitely like a simple way to use it. Is it also like this is like how you get your first guest pass? Like maybe like this how you get your first ad. You buy the NFT, then you get ad space in a certain thing. There's definitely a lot of ways to play with it that I'm curious to see. It came in initially being a lot more of an art thing. So like, it's art, but thinking about it, watching Gary and seeing how like he thought about it business wise is crazy, because there's just so many ways that he says it's Web 3.0, and like he really is thinking about it in like ways we can't even see it yet, And I think that one of the biggest things that I think that it really gives you opportunity is just like to show the support people that like knew about you before anything else. Like I have Like I'm a big Weekend fan, so I have like an autograph poster in my room. So I've been a fan for a while. But like if there was an NFT back then, I would have had that, and I would have been like, that would have been worth some money now, especially after him doing the Super Bowl. So I've really liked that idea of just having proof to show who you are, where you are, in what step in time, to show what you're doing, and like to show the social credit of having, I did this with this person. That's a really cool thing that a lot of people are going to want to have and be. So I think that's great. So as I learn more about the NFT space and more about this whole blockchain instead of things, I'm super hyped to see it. At the same time, do you think that there's anything, like, I'm always like, I like the idea of a public wallet, but at the same time, like, should there be a private wallet too? Like, I don't know, like, I'm not super versed on it, but then the more I look, I'm like, all right, cool. Like, what things are there? Like, I don't know. Like, is it like a private half for it too? But then again, if you have a profile, if you have a social media account, I guess you can have a private account too, but it's not really that private because it's still online, so you just wouldn't have to do it. But it's funny seeing how the technology game keeps changing and evolving. So with
That's what Ryan from this company was talking about. He was like, you have to be careful because once the code gets exposed to the wallet, then the token basically can be devalued completely. So that's the part that really has to get fleshed out. And you don't want that to happen. You don't want to spend a bunch of cash on something, and all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, no, it's too public now. They haven't protected the ways to prevent duplication yet. Some people may have it on lockdown, but not everybody certainly doesn't. And so I think you have to be careful where you're investing. And so for me, and you've heard Gary say it too, like this is a long game. Like don't think super short term. I'm not even making a move yet. I'm sitting on cash. So I'm like, when the time is right, I'm going to get really good advice from like top people in the game and really understand what's going on before I make a move. There might be some little things you might want to pop just for fun. That's okay if it's not a huge loss to you and it's just something you want to have. The really interesting part to me is kind of like the way things are being evaluated, and what NFTs are making people do is focus more on their brand and their reputation. So like Gary, for instance, I'm watching him kick out all this art, and I'm like, he's not a good artist, he's not bad, but it's not like, he's not like an artist, And I'm like, so what's the value in this? Is it just like his reputation, like just his millions of fans become they're essentially the blockchain backing the value of the art. So interestingly, in February of 2020, I had this lady come on the show. This is when we were still in studio. I only took guests that were in New York and like could meet me at the studio and sit across the table from me. So most of the time we were New York residents. And this lady kept reaching out to me on LinkedIn. A bunch of people were reaching out to me on Twitter and everything, like, hey, can I come on your show? And I'm like, are you in New York? And they're like, nope. And I'm like, well, if you can get to New York, let me know. And this one lady was like, I actually can. I'll be there this week because my husband's from there. We're going to see his family. And I'd love to come on your show and talk about blockchain. And I was like, what's blockchain? I was like, I heard of it, but I have no idea what it is. and she's Eastern European and just like got very like monotone Eastern European accent. But we had dinner the night. I was actually sitting right where I'm at right now. We had a little meet and greet with a couple other business owners, and she deals with nonprofits a lot, and just almost like entrepreneurial therapy in a way. And she connected me to a couple people that night, and I introduced her to some of my friends who are also in a similar space. So we just had like a nice dinner and just, kind of like a roundtable discussion. And then we did the show the next day, and like halfway through the show, it finally clicked. Like I understood what blockchain was. It's just like a string of verifiable sources. So, he's built the blockchain already. So now it's like whatever he kicks out, it's already verified and validated. The value is there, and it'll probably grow. But like you and I, we have to we have to build the blockchain. So we're back to like what we should have been doing all along, which is building brands. So I really like the way that it's realigned everybody's focus. And Chef was talking a lot about that because she's really great at that. She's agreed to come on my show and just do a thing on personal brand, because I think that's one of the places where she has like the most to offer. She's really thought long and hard about that and asked the best questions. So here we go again, figuring out like what we are, most importantly over anything else. And then what came out of that conversation the other night was that really you can use NFTs as a way to gather information. It's just like another way for you to listen, the same way they use QR codes. You know, this is like another extension of that, where while you're offering some of these VIP kind of exclusive, you know, tokens, you're getting information and feedback from people. Most importantly, not I mean information like, oh, now I got your email address and your phone number. Like, what are you most interested in? Like, how do I really show up as value for you? You know, and so you're getting that, you can get that quickly from a bunch of people. Not even everybody that you issue the token to, everybody that's applying for the token. Like, hey, would you want to be a guest on my show? Here's an exclusive offer. And say 200 people hop in. Maybe you're only going to give out 10 tokens, but you still got all the, you know, and you can ask questions, exclusive questions. And again, that's just that when you get that attention in that one-on-one conversation. So somebody, like say somebody search, like Google searches my restaurant, or they look us up on Instagram. It's like, okay, we haven't communicated yet. You haven't come in yet, but there's some interest there. If you email me or call, all of a sudden we're next level now, and I can engage with you, and I can prioritize you and make you feel kind of exclusive. Once you come in, you have the opportunity to really like make eye contact and create that relationship. And again, the statistics in restaurants are, if someone comes in and has 3 good experiences, they will likely come back many, many, many times. You have a loyal fan then. So you really have those first 3 times. And how do you know that with everybody? You can't possibly remember like, oh, this is their second visit, this is their third visit. So it forces you to just always think it's their first visit. I need to just like shower. You know, I just need, the goal really is I want you leaving here. I always tell my staff, generally a table sits for an hour at least here. And I'm like, no matter what happens, by the end of that hour, you need to make them smile. They need to leave here with a smile on their face. I don't care if a bug falls from the ceiling. I don't care if a rat runs across the restaurant. None of that stuff ever happens. So I'm just saying, like, worst case scenario, like if they're disappointed with their food, they're disappointed with their drink, they don't like the way your face looks. Like, I don't care, whatever you have to do, ask for help. But we have an hour. You don't always have that. You don't always have that much time. A lot of times it's like, think about social media. Someone's going through and they see something of yours, and if they don't like it one time, like you're not even face to face with them, boom, they're gone. You get no more opportunity. So we have this really exclusive opportunity to really create that relationship. And that's what branding is all about. So it's like great how NFTs are just offering like another form of that. So I'm really just for the moment thinking of it in terms of just another way to create brands more than anything else. Like not even thinking about monetizing yet. Just like that'll come down the line, and you'll be better at monetizing, I think, if you've really built a brand and done more like the Gary Vee kind of approach and just like create your community. And they'll back what you're doing. You're gonna need that, right? You're gonna need people to be like, oh yeah, that's worth something. What, yo, he's putting that up? Because if not, it's like crickets, right? It's like when you first start posting,
it really
when you first start posting on social media. I remember I first got on Twitter and I'm like just throwing stuff out, nothing. And I was like, why is nobody liking my shit, man? You know, it's like, because I wasn't talking to anybody. It was a one-way conversation. You know, it's like walking into the party and being like, hi, this is what I do. Look at me. Hey, look right here. Instead of coming up and saying, hey, what's your name? Cool, what do you do? And then like 5 minutes in, you wait for them to ask you, you know, what do you do? I got a restaurant, I got a radio show. Cool, what's the name? All of a sudden, like, you know, like, so very similar situation, I feel like. Everybody right now is like NFT, like, yeah, I'm an artist. Like, nobody knows you. And I think that's why Gary's example is great. He's on like a whiteboard, like drawing animals,
literally
like
just like
my daughter. And I'm like, at first I was like, bro, like, did you get COVID? Is it like, you know, I was like, what's going on here? Like, you drank too much of your wine, too much empathy on the lockdown, like you get a little wild, but then like it started to reveal itself. And once I understood that, and I asked this guy, Ryan, and I was like, because he was talking about all these different ways people are evaluating NFTs and devaluing them, which is like, you know, not the scary part, but the reality. Like we always have to think about that, right? So there's always somebody trying to pull the rug under. And I was just like, so is it just his reputation? And he's like, oh yeah, that's it.
That's all it is, just brand, man, building community and building relationships, it really always it really always ends up being the same thing over and over again. Like all like the core base is be good to people and like good shit will happen. And you just kind of keep doing that over and over again. Cause I'm in the Discord that he has, and that shit is like fucking exploding all the time. Just like, I'm like, damn, this is all people just like, this is goals right here. You know, have that many people excited for something that you're going to release. And even the rollout for what he did from like taught you about NFTs. How did you do stuff with NFT? Like everything from the beginning was like, I'm gonna give you all the things to help you to get here, but at the end, like you're gonna buy something from me. So it's been really cool to watch his whole execution of how he like promotes his stuff, but even promotes it, but still giving you value. Like, you know, like I ended up got my first time buying any kind of cryptocurrency because of that whole process. Didn't know how. He showed how to do it. So, you know, that the building the relationship and building the community and adding value, giving more than you're taking. It really he really did a good job of executing that, in my opinion, because it made me think on a level I never thought before. Like I taught you how to fish. I taught you how to, he's like, I'll tell you what fish is. I'll teach you how to fish. I'll show you where to fish. And then I'm going to offer you like a fish sauce or something like that at the end of it. You know what I mean? It's like the whole process was like, I gave you enough, but like at the end, you know, there's something for me, which I think is fantastic. And I really liked the idea of him having a conference to have everything lead up to a conference. I think is super, super dope as well, because, you know, just building more and more community. Now it's like, oh, I met this person because of him. Like the more I watch what he's doing, and he's still, like, he's early in the game. He's on the level, and I'm like, it's cool being able to watch, because I'm like, all right, like I kind of get what he's doing. And I'm not there yet, but I can slowly put together the things. I'm like, all right, if I want to do it, I'll do it like this, and this, which is fantastic. So I think, like you said, community, relationships, brand, that's the whole fucking game, man. That's the whole fucking game.
You know, when he's always said, like, document your process, and we, like, I don't know about you, but like, I didn't get to watch him, you know, like I was into him in 2007 for like less than a year. And then I wasn't watching anybody, you know, I wasn't on social media. I didn't watch YouTube videos or anything like that. I was busy like opening a business and raising kids and stuff. But, you know, I missed the whole like thing up until now, you know, when we actually got to see him, you know, map the process. And he even had like, you know, D-Rock and some of his other top guys, they were like dropping stuff too. It just like kind of spread, you know, and just like, again, further validating everything that was going on. So like, maybe you're not like a huge Gary fan, but maybe you love D-Rock, and like, you're like, fuck, he's talking about it too. And all right, I gotta check this out, you know, and just like roping more and more people in. So again, the whole thing just becomes content and brand building itself. Like your brand building becomes brand building. You know what I'm saying? Just
it
the
does.
process. And like kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier about content, it's like I've got two, you know, ways I kind of approach it. Like one is definitely this show, you know, the Entrepreneurial Web. I want to promote the hell out of that. I just like have put so much effort into like connecting things to that in social media. Just I want more people watching it. I want more guests. I want more people coming to me for advice based off of what's happening around the show, you know? And then I just have all the other fun stuff I'm doing in my life, and I want to map that too. And I'm at this point now where I don't have enough time in the day to do it all. So now I've actually met with a couple companies. I'm actually talking with Mike later this week about possibly taking it over. Just like really focusing on giving me a bunch of content out of the show. Like the idea that your 1 hour show is like really thousands of pieces of content if you have the time, or you can hire somebody to cut it up. So I'm kind of starting with like, I want 50 pieces of content from each show. So each week, and I need it like quickly. So if the show's on Friday, by Monday, I need content to start coming out. Short videos, long videos, quotes, a blog, you know, just do. And I can cut that up and make it exponentially more content. So that way I'm not thinking about that. And I can just kind of focus on like other things that are happening in my life, you know? So like when I post stuff about my kids, especially my kids in relation to fitness, boom, this is like tons of engagement. I'm like, okay, we're doing more of that. You know, we're doing a lot more of that. And then just doing the fitness stuff alone, like now I said at the beginning, I'm back to like, I have like students again. I'm like, I'm training, and most of it's private right now, like individual, like one-on-one, but then we're back. We're like, February of 2020, I was making good coin like every month teaching and training, man. Like it was nice. I really enjoyed it. And it made me more fit. It made me think differently about, even more so. Like I train every day, but then I had to focus like on what I ate after I trained because I knew I was going to be teaching. And you don't want to come in like all bloated and be like, you got like, all right, even further like reinforcing how you have to be healthy, and you get to go slowly through the demos and really do things the way it's supposed to be done. Where like sometimes when you're working out right, you get pumped up. And you get a little sloppy, you start going.
Oh yeah,
like,
trying to do
absolutely. The muscle girl, like, whenever you're demonstrating it, you have to slow down, and then you really get your form back. You're like, so all those things I was missing, and like, all of it came about just because I daily was posting workout stuff, whether it was jujitsu or working out on the bars or whatever it was, just some cardio. I just kept pumping it out, and when people finally felt good enough, like whether they got vaxxed or whatever, they were like, all right, I think I'm ready. It's funny. I was training another guy in the park, and another guy I know walks by. I haven't seen him in forever, but he sees my posts all the time. He doesn't even engage or comment or anything like that, really. But like, he saw me from like 30 yards away, and he's like, "Wow, this is so amazing! Like, I actually see it right now. It's not through the phone." And I was like, "Just hold up your phone and look through your camera." And like, so he did. Like, we had this great laugh, and he was like. He literally was like, "You just made my week." And then, not for nothing, in the middle of the week, he hopped in, like I didn't even know he was on LinkedIn, and he chimed in on a post about the show. So all of it is really like just I want to funnel traffic to the show. He hopped in on a post about the show and commented on it. He was like, "I really look forward to all of your posts." And I was just like, wow. Like, that's it, man. That's really it. And then his son came in and had his first date with his girlfriend in 6 months in the restaurant last night. So they texted me like, "We need to make a reservation for Danny."
Wow.
Just from posting and having fun. Like so there's like, the show for me is like a lot of work, especially like the show itself is fun. Like doing the show is easy, but man, like cutting up like micro content video and subtitling it and like just logo drops and headers and everything. And then you got to do captions for it. And I'm like, oh, I don't have time. Like when the restaurant was slower, especially like they didn't open dining rooms back. Dining rooms were shut down in New York City again from like November to February. So during that time, it was easy. I mean, just open up my laptop in the restaurant. You take a night like last night. It was a Tuesday night, and I swear to God, I made 75 drinks in 5 hours. You're just like, and that's only one task I have to do. I have even in the restaurant, I wear multiple hats, and I opened up my laptop at one point just to do the caption for the YouTube video. And I couldn't even finish that, man. So it's like, that becomes work. And then you're less motivated to do it. You definitely don't do your best. So I feel like now it's a time to like outsource that. And because we're making more money, like it's not a problem. I can dedicate the time and I can put it aside. And then the other stuff for me is just totally fun and spontaneous. There's no schedule with it. It's great because I'm in New York City. Like we took our 3-year-old, our youngest turned 3 on Sunday, and we did this baller. We took her to top of World Trade Center. That's where she had her 3rd birthday, at the observatory on World Trade Center. And we had dinner at the restaurant there, 102nd floor. Like this kid, she has no idea.
I know, living the life.
Yeah.
3 years old, doesn't even know.
But the whole thing was just content for me. I just was like, and it was so much fun, and it was so easy, and got so much engagement, and people were just like, "This is great," So like, I want to do more of that. So having the two together, Gary's always talking about like 64 pieces of content a day. Like I've gone through the deck. I get it, I understand, but it's also like when you're operating 3 businesses, 4 businesses, 5 businesses, sometimes you just don't have the time to crank it all out. So just like finding the path of least resistance, like the show is like, I'm like, I don't want to do it. But the workout stuff and like, and just all the spontaneous, like I'm in the city, I'm running around and doing crazy things. One day I was like delivering, and like I just look up and I'm in front of the X-Lax building, like the old school X-Lax building.
Wow.
And I just like popped a picture of it and put it up. I like people thought it was great, like so much just like hilariousness. And that's the beauty of being where I'm at. It's no different than you. Like you got these great like sunsets. I mean, the drone video of you on the beach, like who doesn't love the beach, you know, and
Yeah,
just like
man.
that view and everything. So we just have these great things to utilize. And it's just so easy, you know, even if you don't have a drone, just like, I mean, I got a nice iPhone, so that's good enough. You know, I can get a little fun with it and just pop out like content quickly and easily. So that's like that's the next big thing for me is just making that transition. Again, I've talked to a few like actual companies, and it's funny because they're like, yeah, you know, we actually are looking for more clients right now. So we meet everything. And I'm like, all right, you tell me, like, tell me how much you need and when you want to get started. And like, nothing.
That's fantastic.
No, they're not getting back to me.
Oh.
So I'm like, okay. And so, you know, I don't want to drop everything now, but Mike and I are having these discussions, and it could be fun. It could be really cool.
That process of making the micro content to get the 64 pieces, because this is like this is a whole show, you know, you're doing a whole hour worth of content conversation, and you don't even know, like, you never know which one's going to be the one to do it. So you take what you think you know, but then like you could have had something better you didn't know about. So I'm going through that same thing where I'm like, oh, like I spend more time just working on the show I have and just using that better because there's just so much other
Yeah.
stuff in it. So I feel you, and then trying to figure out that process of getting people to do different things for you, like.
And even just like getting transcriptions, just to get a transcription of the show is so much content. You've got a blog right there waiting for you. All you got to do is clean it up. Boop, 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 boop. You can post that on LinkedIn as an article. You know, you blog it on your website or whatever, then post it on LinkedIn as an article. Screenshot little bits of it to drive traffic on, you know, Facebook and Instagram and Twitter to your LinkedIn article, and then chopping up like little one-liners as quotes for Twitter. Oh my God, you could have like 20 a day. Boom, boom, boom. Then those become screenshots for Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook. And the comments, like what the comments bring out. You can do screenshots of the comments. So one of the things I've been doing lately, because I get a lot of comments at times on TikTok videos of Jiu Jitsu.
Nice.
And it's funny, I'm like on the phone, like situating the comments where you can still see us moving, and I try to like capture that one moment.
That's art form. That's art form.
My phones are doing all this stuff, you know. But like I've gotten some good ones where I'm like throwing a guy, and then there's like 4 comments, you know, below from people like great stuff, you know, and I'll put that up as Instagram stories because the orientation is perfect for that. And it just you know, like I met with D-Rock a couple of times. He actually came to the restaurant, and he's a really great dude. And loves our food and our beverage. So that's been fantastic just to create that relationship. But, you know, he was like, he was watching me operate, and he was like, you got a lot going on, my man. He was like, you can be way more efficient with the way you're posting, to where you're just repurposing stuff and not killing yourself. Because at first I was like I was trying to create everything from like ground zero. He's like, you don't have to do that.
I feel you on that.
Do that. And I was like, really? I was like, I thought I'd be like less authentic. He's like, no. And then it all becomes traffic for like other spots. Because like often what I post on LinkedIn is quite different than what I post on Twitter and what I post on Instagram and Facebook, you know? And so people just get to see that other side of you. And you just, I mean, it, you know, still like LinkedIn and TikTok have been the places of biggest growth for me, where, you know, I already had an Instagram and Facebook account, just like general, you know, when I started on social, but wasn't using them much at all. Like Facebook, I started that in like 2006, I think, you know, and like had nothing. It was just like a joke. It was just there. It existed, you know. But I started Twitter, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and LinkedIn at the same time. And like, I have way more traction on both of those platforms than on platforms that I had for a long time. So I always like really try to push people in those 2 directions, just to let that go sky high. You know, I think it's great. I think Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook are just going to be there. I get great engagement because those are like my people. Like a lot of them are actually like people from my community, my friends, and I know them. So like they give me a lot of love. But if you're looking for growth, like it's kind of hard, you know. I don't know if you've noticed lately though, Instagram is doing a much better job of organic push.
I feel with the reels it is. I haven't seen with the others. So everything else hasn't changed that much for me. Has it changed for you?
My feed, Because I don't do much with reels. I actually just did my first reel the other day. I'm just like so busy. I'm like, and I'm already doing it in TikTok. So I want to push, again, I'm trying to push people to TikTok. So I push my TikToks to stories so that people go to TikTok more. And I've had multiple people reach out to me and say, the only reason I'm on TikTok is because of your jiu-jitsu videos, like friends of mine, we're like, I'm not doing it, man. It's not for me. And they see the jiu-jitsu videos and they see me tag other people and reference other guys on there. And they're seeing it on Instagram stories. And they're like, all right, let me go make this account because something's happening there. And they're like, no, it's legit. It's good. So that, that's kind of the point of doing it. But yeah, just not having a lot of time. But what I've noticed, especially when I'm marketing for the show, I'm always tagging, the person on Instagram. And Instagram is bumping me out to their followers organically.
Wow.
Like, it's not like massive, but it's
Still.
like, it's weekly. Like, I'm getting new followers and new engagement from people that like, they were not my followers. There's no connection to me other than just a couple of weeks ago, I had a guy from Nashville on, and I tagged him and everything. And all these people from Nashville were engaging with my stuff. And I was like, that was kind of the takeaway. And you could tell because their handle was like Nashville Sounds, or whatever. But it was like 5 or 6 new people just from one post. And,
wow.
And because like I engage with a lot of jiu-jitsu stuff, once I get through my feed and I get caught up, then it's like suggested for you, and it's a bunch of jiu-jitsu stuff. So people are seeing the same thing on their feed. So if they're into like podcasts and like I tag somebody they know, and it's always like at the top you'll see liked by, and it's one of your friends, that's also into jiu-jitsu. So they're bumping out things that people that are close to you are engaging with. They're bumping it out to you, and they're doing it pretty quickly. Like sometimes, if I'm pretty caught up and I just open Instagram back up and I'm like, maybe 5 posts in that are new, right away, I've got a whole slew of suggested posts all related to the stuff that I've been engaging with and that like people are engaging with. And yeah, they're trying to get some traction back for sure. They've been attacked from multiple places, they're like, so they've got to do something, to kind of step it up. And I've been pleased with that because it's less effort for me.
It must have been. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you from our man Thane. Put a little tweet asking if anybody had a question for you. And Thane says, what is one character flaw you can't tolerate in a person? And why is it pulling guard?
I know exactly who you're talking about. The thing that the character flaw I dislike the most is lack of accountability. And if you pull guard, it's because your jiu-jitsu sucks. Or you're a leg lock master and you're going for it. Yeah, it's like, it's not, it takes the realness out of things. And that's like lack of accountability. This takes the realness out of somebody when they're like, they're just making excuses and they take the path of least resistance, whether it's out of fear. It's usually out of fear. It's just like, they don't know and they're kind of scared to take that step where it's like, when you don't pull guard, so that's in jiu-jitsu, that's when you just like drop to the floor and wrap your legs around a guy.
Okay.
Or just sit to the floor because you don't want to get taken down. And I get it in live training, like or in like when you're in the gym, you're working out. Like sometimes it's very time consuming, where guys are just standing and they're tied up. If it's gi and you've got your grips and you're just tugging on each other and trying to get each other to the ground. Sometimes like you go a whole 5-minute round and nobody gets taken down, and it's like, so then you didn't really get to practice any groundwork. So we start on the ground a lot that way, but like, I don't love it in competition where a guy just immediately sits because he's not. Now, the other, the flip side of that, there's some guys that are just, that's where they work their magic. And they're like, I'm not going to waste my time. I want to win this match. And I'm going to sit and I'm going to scoop under you and I'm going to attack and I'm going to win. And I want to do it quickly and efficiently. So there's a place where I can respect it, but not so much in life when people are just like constantly like, it's just like the guy taking the easy road, like,
It's not the way to do it.
Like, do the work, do the work, be accountable, show up, do your stuff. Like people are in a lot of weird places and a lot of things, but as long as you're not just making a bunch of excuses and taking like the easy way out all the time because you're just afraid of adversity, that I'm just like, you'll just never have my complete respect that way,
100%. So no pulling guard. Accountability is everything.
Don't the metaphorical guard.
There we go.
Stay on your feet. Stay on your feet. If you get knocked down, like legitimately get knocked down, and understand why. Like jiu-jitsu is always about progression. So it's like, it's not just about winning. Hanzo says it all the time. You either win or you learn. There's no losing. Understand why you didn't win. There's a strategy. There's a reason why. And most things are documented. So you can go back and look. And it's like, oh, because I crossed my feet. Oh, because I had my hand up in the air. I should have had it close to my body. And same with like in business and like these things that you're trying to accomplish. Like, don't be afraid to fail. Like, it's going to happen. Failure is coming your way. Learn how to better prevent it in the past and how to get back up quicker. Like, get back up on your feet, man. You get knocked down, get back up. Just don't be afraid of that. Like, I love it when we start from standing. They're like, feet to the floor. And I'm like, whoa, we're in unknown territory. Because like when you're down already, it's like, that takes half of the guessing work out. And like to me, it's the most, I don't want to say catastrophic, but just it's the most chaos. It's the most chaotic for sure. When you're standing, there's just so much farther to fall, and like so many more things could go wrong that way. But again, you have to learn how to fall. You have to know, like, okay, we are tipping now. We are going over. Let's reduce the damage. So just like in business and work and all the things that you're doing, like, okay, we see the nose going down now. How can we land gracefully, and then like figure out why we fell in the first place.
Absolutely.
Great question.
Absolutely.
Great question.
Yeah, that's a great question, man. But Jeremiah, thanks so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
How do the people find you if they want to find you, get in contact with you?
Yeah, so basically all social channels, LinkedIn and Facebook, Jeremiah Fox, Instagram, Jeremiah Dai, JeremiahDadi. And then Instagram. I'm sorry. What's it called? Twitter is. And that's also on TikTok. So Instagram and TikTok, Jeremiah Dai, and then on Twitter, it's just my radio personality. This is my place I get to hide behind the sheath of the microphone. Entrepreneurial Web Radio, eWeb Radio NYC is the handle.
Fuck yeah. So guys, check him out. It's the second time on the show, so by now you guys know who he is. But for all the new listeners, definitely give him a follow. Jeremiah, thanks for the show. Guys, thanks for listening and take care.